What does a society do? A free society, it cannot allow itself to be victimized as is happening in Belgium. They've got to take action, and they've got to take swift action. Our CBN News European reporter Dale Hurd is with us. Dale, you've reported from Brussels. It has become a hotbed of jihadists. Tell us about it.
I called it the jihadi barracks of Europe. It's been a welcome home for extremists for years. 4 years ago, when I needed to talk to a terrorist in Belgium, I called him on his cell phone, and I met him out in the open in a cafe in Antwerp, and he's now in prison. So that's the kind of environment that they've had there. I've wondered why this hasn't happened sooner.
Well, why do they pick Brussels? Is it because of NATO or the EU?
Or because there are a lot of terrorists in Brussels. So, you know, one of the stops was near the European Union. But security has been so lax there. It's a very easy target. I was with EU leaders a few weeks ago, and every time I'm in the European Union, I'm struck by the lack of security relative to what you would see in the U.S. Capitol. And I always wondered, do they really think that they're never going to be hit? And maybe they aren't, but they were.
As you say, this airport, subway, easy targets, I mean, do they come in to Brussels from other countries looking for opportunities to strike?
No, and you know what? This is an important point. After the Paris attacks, the governments in Europe talked about the threat from the Middle East, from ISIS. The threat was already in Europe, okay? The terrorists were already there, living in Molenbeek. Belgium is going to need help to deal with this. We used to joke that if you walked through Brussels airport with a hand grenade and you dropped it, a soldier would stop you and hand it back to you, okay? Even after 9/11, I thought security was, frankly, a joke. And I'm not sure Belgium is up to the job to handle this.
Well, is it the politically correct philosophy that's causing this, or they just don't care?
Yeah, I think that there's brainwashing has occurred. I think that tomorrow people will really appear on the streets with real posters and apologize to Muslims for provoking this attack. And in the media, you have all this politically correct pressure on politicians to not be racist, okay, and to not single out a group, because anyone could commit these attacks, except only one group commits these attacks.
You say you were being facetious, of course, but is there truth in that they literally would apologize to the Muslims for inciting them to this violence?
They've done that in Sweden after the sex attacks. People came out and said on Twitter, on Facebook, I'm sorry that you've been singled out for this because, you know, you have such a hard time here in Sweden and we treat you so badly.
Dale, what's the solution, or is there one? You think they'll ever find a solution to that?
Well, I'll tell you, this is a stupid strategy by Muslims, but you know what? It isn't a strategy. You know, the right strategy would be what a terrorist in Belgium told me 4 years ago, which is we're going to have a lot of children and simply take over the country that way. Blowing up people is not a strategy. We as Christians know that it's a blood sacrifice to Allah. This is a spiritual service that they're doing when they blow themselves up and they blow up infidels. It's not a good strategy. It's religion.
Dale Hurd, thank you for the tremendous, insightful perspective you've been bringing on this. And ladies and gentlemen, isn't it amazing that we won't open our eyes? It's clear in the Quran what Muhammad said. It's clear the teachings in these jihadi madrasas and then the jihadi other enclaves wherever this teaching goes forth. But yet nobody will act. Well, in other